All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Ignite Initiative. I have Derek on, a great friend, somebody that's really thriving in the fitness industry right now, of Rebel in New Jersey. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for having me. Very excited to be on today and get after it.
Of course. And Derek, obviously, we met, I think for the first time, it was probably a year ago, right? In person, at the BOS Arizona Retreat 23, when you guys won Gym of the Year of that, that whole year of 23. And, being in that room and seeing, I just knew right away that you were a go-getter and that you really take this stuff serious, and it obviously shows in your business. So always looked up to you for advice in these areas too. So congrats on all your success, and I'd love to start talking about how you got to where you guys are today.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, vice versa. I definitely think that in the same way you guys really set yourselves apart. Last year at the conference, and in terms of everything you guys have been able to do with your 19 businesses and expansion and whatnot, I definitely enjoyed working with you so far with Ignite.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I was asking you about the show notes for this, and what to go over first. Your first thing was when you were 12, correct? Doing cutting lawns.
Dude, I started.
Was it younger than that?
Honestly, my first glimpse of entrepreneurial spirit came out when I was 12. Essentially, and I don't remember the particular conversation. My father basically said, we were on the subject of cars, and he said, I'll match whatever you save for a car. I'm going to match it. And I said, okay. I was like, well, how do I make money? He was like, well, you've got your birthday money and whatnot that we could save up, and we've got we cut lawn. I cut his lawn for him. He gave me $15 or whatever for lawn, and I was doing the math. I'm like, I'm gonna have to cut some more grass.
Did he make minimum wage with that or no?
You know what? I don't know.
You should report that.
It was probably pretty close. He came pretty close. I think.
Yeah, actually, at the time, it probably was.
At the time, minimum wage might have been like $5.
You're right. Unfortunately, now it's not. All right, cool. And then snow removal too. You did that?
Lawn care, snow removal, leaves.
So how many people did you actually do? You're really 12 years old. I
had a ton.
How did you go around that?
My homework didn't get done because of it, which is another subject I'll talk about. But
which is fine.
I would literally get home, and I had two friends that I would do this with in the neighborhood. They would, when they wanted to. They had lives too. I just kind of saw.
So you were the leader. I've
always been I see one thing and I go at it, and that was exactly the case with that. When I used to come home, I used to drop my backpack. I literally remembered grabbing the rake and whatever and going out and raking leaves. That was when it started. And when I finally convinced my dad to let me use his his power tools and whatnot, I had the leaf blower that I would haul around sometimes. Then I had to pay for the gas for that and whatnot. But how many lawns? Dude, I would just go door to door.
So you learned the expenses too at that point.
Oh yeah.
So all kidding aside, you probably learned a lot from this though.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How to talk with people.
Absolutely.
You're a natural salesman, so maybe this is why.
Yeah, I would go door to door.
Wow.
I would go door to door. We knew.
No 12-year-olds are doing that today, that's for sure.
No, door to door was hilarious because I would give people quotes based on the top of my head. I had and then finally when I realized that they would try to talk me down in price, I would have a price sheet, and I would just go up there and be like, "This is my price sheet." And they would take the thing and they'd look at me and they'd be like, "Oh, okay."
You should honestly.
They went for it.
You should have filmed all this. It would have been freaking amazing content.
Dude, it was great. I was very proud of it, even at the time. I'd come home I remember one night I came home with $200 on a Tuesday, and my mom and dad were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just did 6 lawns."
So did you guys buy a Lambo then, or no? What happened?
You
spent a little bit of it?
Yeah. I spent it too. We lived, center of town. I would get all sorts of candy and stuff and whatnot, like a normal kid. I did normal kid stuff too.
Nice.
But that's pretty much how it started.
All right, so that was your start, and then you started working out. You said when you were 13 years old, and then obviously you're a staple in the fitness industry now. So how did it start working out? Why did you fall in love with it, and how did everything start with that?
Got my first set of adjustable dumbbells then. Really learned a bunch of exercises from my dad. From there, I was like, all right, Dad, I outgrew these dumbbells, and whatever. And he had a bench press, a little adjustable body Smith bench press in storage. He brought it into the basement. That's really how it went. And, just kind of started with that. And, I would train other kids in my neighborhood. My friends would come over, and I always had like I always had like a control problem with that. Like I would never do anybody else's workouts. Like
I'm kind of the same way.
I would always make the workouts. Yeah. They'd be like, "What if we do this today?" I was like, "No, it's a terrible idea. Like, let's do this."
Yeah.
I remember one of my friends like suggested we do like isometrics, like on the bench press, like just little holds and stuff like that. I was like, "That's dumb. We're not doing that today." 13 years old.
So it's how you go. Hey, listen.
Yeah.
That's why you're the leader you are today. That's the reason why. Right?
Something like that. Yeah, honestly, it really, I've definitely always been like that. But really, really dove into that head first, like pretty much everything I do. And pretty much from there, what that kind of evolved into is I saw that there was direct correlation to the exercising and, how I performed in sport. And from there, and I enjoyed how I felt. I enjoyed how I looked. And, it kind of took off from there. I had a weight room coach. His name was Bill Wasilius. He's still in the area now, but he was the strength coach at my high school, West Essex.
Cool.
And when I was a freshman, I got the courage to like really start going to the weight room. And back then, the only people that were in there were football players, and what I would describe at the time are like guys that I felt looked like they belonged in there.
Yeah.
Really grungy.
Yeah, you're right.
Original West Essex weight room, which is honestly still, if I think about it, like the favorite gym that I've ever been in. Right. Like I think about like
that old school mentality.
Yes, right? I loved you had the classic squat till you puke poster and whatnot. Had the weight room achievement walls and stuff like that. But this guy, Bill, he Coach Was, as we called him, he really changed my life because number one, I wasn't afraid of him, which and he's a great guy, but he is intimidating looking.
Yeah.
And especially then he's over probably 6'3", 6'4", maybe a little taller, and he played football, I believe Arizona Cardinals, and he's quite a presence. And when I was a freshman, I finally got the courage to basically say like, hey, like how do I do what you do?
Yeah, there you go. I recognize that's the position to actually be in.
Yeah, he really kind of he had me reading NSCA journals when I was 14, 15 years old, and he was teaching me how to break down like certain parts of it. And I remember he saw me like I was a baseball player. I was doing a weighted bat exercise, and he came outside and had like a couple different pieces of research for me to read on that. Like, and
cool.
Just kind of.
And you kind of fell in love with it, honestly. It sounds like
completely. Yeah, it was my entire personality by my senior year of high school was built around that. Yes.
That's awesome. 1,000%. And then obviously you just kind of pass it off to other people and helping other people do the same thing that you do.
Yeah. Big time.
That's awesome. So you were as you got older, you're working at the grocery store, correct? And you're training people out of a gym at the same time, right?
Yeah, I worked at a grocery store, local grocery store, and I was training people as well. So I had those two jobs. I was doing that for quite a while at the same time.
So what did you, like my biggest, when we have these talks with entrepreneurs that come on here, what did you learn from that? Because you would learn in every single position possible, right? Like, so what did you learn from being at the grocery store?
How to be a good employee. No, number one of the things that I look for when I go to review resumes is I love to see service industry. So when I see somebody who has experience in the service industry, that tells me that they've, at the very, very bare minimum, been able to have a tremendous amount of volume of hellos, and they can make small talk. And if you can make small talk and you could be relatively likable,
it's like 90% of it.
It's a large percentage. Like those are intangibles. You know what I mean? Like there's obviously so much more to being like a trainer, and being within this industry, but those are like super important things.
But you could teach the people the X's and O's.
Oh yeah.
So so you don't like care about that too much, right? It's more about like their presence, right? Their smile when they come in, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that's
super important.
That's the key, right? Okay, so you're at the grocery store, you're training people.
Yeah.
When did you realize like shit, like maybe training is the thing, and maybe that's what I'm going for?
Later than I thought I would. Later than looking back, like it was kind of like the answer the whole time for me, and I really just kind of I had a traditional approach that was really ingrained by my parents, and no fault to theirs. They wanted me to go to school. They wanted me to go to college. So I was training people. I was at the grocery store, and I did all sorts of things there, and I spent a lot of hours there. And in addition to that, I was also a student at Montclair State, and I was a nutrition major and pushed that. People asked me why not exercise science. I was like, I just didn't care at the time to really look into it. I saw nutrition like on an option, and I took it. And it's such a funny thing because now my mom tells me I just all I wanted to do since I was 12, 13 was work. I just wanted to work in general, and all I wanted to do was make money. I wanted to improve. I wanted to progress and things like that. And I was much more preoccupied with that Always have been.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, honestly. It really does. Now, what do you think held you back from starting the gym right away? Do you think it's because, like, especially, like, let's take it back, because how many years ago was that? 10-ish?
I started training at 18, so 14 years ago.
Area. So it's like, especially then, it's like, you know, we opened up, it'll be 10 years in January for RAF. Yeah. And it's like people were like, you know, what are you gonna do for your job? Like, no. We own a gym. Like, you know, like I feel like that was always hard for us to deal with, especially in the beginning.
I'll never forget the moment that I was literally training somebody, and it was a kid. He was, I say kid, he was like 16, and I was probably like 22 years old at the time. And he looked at me, he was like, so what do you want to do when you grow up? Yeah. And I was like, what?
I'm doing it right now.
I'm like, this is my full-time job.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you kidding me?
But that's why I said that, because I feel like a lot of people have that. But now it's way more normal. Now opening up a gym, you know it's a real business and stuff like that. But I feel like back then it was a lot harder. So was that why maybe, or just?
Oh, definitely. It was lack of knowledge. It was definitely kind of like, you know, having it be like a really like overwhelming thing. And, you know, I own Rebel, my gym, with my wife, Erica. So, you know, we met at a gym. It was the second gym I worked at. It was a local health club. Okay. And we met there. I ran the personal training department, or I came to run the personal training department. She ran the speed and agility, the sports performance department. And, you know, when we started like talking about that, it was kind of like, it was just very overwhelming, you know, and we, even at the time, up until actually opening up the gym, we still didn't fully understand like what it would actually take. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a big, broad thought. And I think that I really didn't have the courage to do it. Neither of us really did until we met each other. And we really kind of
pushed each other to it.
Pushed each other to take that jump together. Yeah, we our energy it's definitely very infectious. And when we, you know, really put our minds to things, you know, we that's when we really dive into things. And
that's amazing. So, and then also at that gym, correct me if I'm wrong, you were the PT director of that gym, correct?
Yeah.
So what did you learn exactly there? You brought over to the business.
That was a funny thing, because like I look back on it, and how did I? You know, I was a PT director when I was like 23, and looking back now, I think that's definitely fairly young. And at the time, I felt like, oh no, this is good. This is where I belong. And I kind of got that position by giving trainers trainers business, and simply because my book was full. I had been doing about as many sessions as I could, and at the time, I really didn't have much of a vision outside of like one-on-one personal training. And as you know,
it's tough at that stage.
Yeah. So I didn't have the thought or the wherewithal at that time to be like, oh, so let's move to small group. I can maximize my hours. I just kind of started, you know, dumping clients or referrals onto other trainers, and that was noticed. And it started off as like, you know, it was noticed as, oh wow, Derek's getting other people busy. And then I kind of thought to myself, like, well, we don't really have a department head right now. What if I keep doing this? Yeah. Well, and I did, and as a result, I got the job.
That's how it happened.
Yeah, I kind of created it.
Amazing.
Which worked out really well.
That's crazy. And I mean, and that's what you have to do now, right? Is bring people in and pass them off. I mean, as much as you possibly can, right? And then did you realize, like, okay, like I'm good at this. Why am I doing this here? Let me just do my own thing.
Yeah, I very much so always want to do my own thing, and it makes a lot of sense, because if you look back like toward where I really started with any kind of money making, it's always been, you know,
doing your own thing.
Wanted to do our own thing and whatnot, and you know, at the time, just kind of not really understanding that like I could do it, you know, or having the confidence to do it.
I mean, and then it's the hard part of that. Is the other side of that is like there's a lot of trainers right now in this position working at box gyms, doing one-on-ones, making some good money, right? They're making, I'm not sure, whatever it is, $1,500 to $3,000 a week, depending. It could be more, it could be less. But so it's like, let's say goodbye to that right now. Let's invest $150, $250 into a gym. Take less pay for a long while, right? And build your own business. It's tough. It's tough to swallow that in the beginning. It's really hard to swallow that in the beginning.
I talk with Eric about
this.
That's
reality, right?
It's reality. And I talk to Eric about this all the time. And, you know, if it sounds crazy, like, you know, it sounds crazy. You know, here I am at 24 years old, it ended up being, saying goodbye to a 6-figure job and going out and literally like I making absolutely nothing. you're making
nothing.
Literally nothing for several years.
Yeah, we said it on here. I think I paid myself. I have the paycheck still, like $150 a week for the first year.
It's hilarious. It's like, it was. And realistically speaking, like that doesn't happen unless, in my opinion, you're gonna win. Like I look at this as like
confidence.
I look at business as a game. I always have, and if Eric and I have this phrase, if we can bet on ourselves, we'll take that bet any day. And so jumping into Rebel, jumping into our business was a bet on ourselves. And we'll always take that.
Love that. Not to mention you guys are a little busy at home too, right?
5 kids, man.
So like that's
5 kids.
So that's, I mean, you guys got to manage that too. So that's obviously a lot.
It is.
That's obviously a lot. So what year did you guys open Rebel up?
We opened officially? Rebel. So the LLC was officially made in 2016. We opened late 2017.
Cool.
So we were working as independent contractors.
Cool. I think we were 2014 LLC, and then 2015 we started the actual business. Mm-hmm. So it's a very similar time period. It's like, and like creating your first, creating the LLC, you think it's like a big deal. So it's like a couple of papers. You sign,
I know.
And then it's out. It's like, okay,
I know.
we have a business.
Yeah.
And then, so talk about that part, like renovations, stuff like that. Like, because I know there's going to be a lot of trainers listening to this too, looking to make this jump, and it's scary. It's very scary in the beginning. So like, what did that look like for you guys? It probably was scary, correct?
It was terrifying. It was terrifying. Pen to paper. It was Erica's name, with the intent of me being, she's on paper owner. I am a W-2.
Gotcha.
So, pen to paper was Erica, and I just remember watching her like going through the lease, which is surprisingly easy to get. Where we were, it was not a hard process.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, but I remember watching her handshake, and I asked her a question, and she just kind of snapped at me, and she said, "Don't talk to me right now. I'm not going to do this if you talk to me." And we were like terrified, signing the lease over and handing it and being like, "Oh my God, what did we do?" We didn't have enough money, Mike, to give them a full security deposit. Yeah. We had to split the security deposit into 2.
And they were okay with that, obviously.
They were okay with that. Yeah, and we made good on it. So we're still in that same unit, but it was wild because we took over a gym, and it was a gym with a very heavy. Not took over a gym. The space had previously been a gym. Guy moved out, so it was a very heavy '80s bodybuilder influenced gym. It was McDonald's, yellow and red. You walked in the place and you got hungry. It had a drop ceiling. I could jump up and hit my head on it. So we ripped absolutely everything.
Getting the drop ceiling is the worst thing in the world. Getting it down, right? Oh my God.
We have such pictures. It was ridiculous.
We did it up here, and it's a big layout. So we did it up here, and then the next floor we had to do that. And at that point, we're lucky enough we had enough budget. We hired somebody to do that.
My two of my best friends I got a contractor and an electrician as 2 of my best friends. So we did the work all together.
Nice.
And we really, honestly, we tore everything down. We got our lease officially, or our keys rather, officially on a Friday. And we opened for business on a Monday. In that
same Monday?
Yes, in that same weekend. So we took down, I think we took out 5 rooms in that weekend. We took down the drop ceiling. We did an incredible amount of work. We painted everything. We got all the equipment in there. We got the flooring in. We actually, the only thing we didn't do was get the matting in time. We got the turf in time. Oh, actually, we laid out the turf. It was the wrong turf. It wasn't
glued down? Okay.
No,
okay.
Not glued down. We got the wrong turf. We rolled it out. We rolled it back. So we opened up with, I don't even know.
Those turf rolls are heavy too, right?
Dude.
So heavy.
I never want to move another one of those in my life.
I know.
It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. But yeah, we hit the ground running Monday morning, and for the next seemingly 6 to 12 months, we really
just grinded it in.
Finessed the space, yeah. So it was, we didn't have any kids at the time. We actually did everything but sleep there, but we moved down into the area, and kind of just got after it.
That's it. And then so obviously fitness businesses. So in the beginning, I'm sure you were just trying to fill up your spots, and you were doing a lot of one-on-ones, correct, yourself, or no?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are going to jump to that. Not to say you shouldn't jump to that, but then how do you have time to manage your business? And then when did you realize that you can't do all one-on-ones all day and manage your business? And how'd you make that transition? That's super hard.
Later than I thought I would. Or later than I wish I
was. That push from the BOS, from Joe and Dan? Is that push from them?
I went to So background, I followed Joe and Dan since about 2015.
Cool.
An old coworker had introduced me to them, so I started following them. And I think I remember the first ever BOS live Facebook call. It was just Joe and Dan just chilling at a table, going back and forth, and I was like, hold up. They actually sound like they know what they're talking about. I'm going to keep following them.
They're in the industry, right?
Yeah. So if I look back on like my Google Drive, all my photos, like I have a whole like reel, excuse me, from 2015. It's all old like BOS stuff. I have like
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, from like their Instagram. So, but yeah, I think I met Joe officially in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess it had to be 2018. Yeah, we saw met him at a seminar, introduced myself, and after that he invited us up to Varsity House.
Nice. I know that was it. And then you guys, when I came in to that group and you guys won Gym of the Year, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, had a huge jump in business, correct, that year?
Yeah.
So what was the main source of that? How did the main jump happen? How did you guys win Gym of the Year?
Well, we had already...
Besides your effort and consistency, I know that said action taken, but what did you guys do differently in the business?
I stepped out of it. I stepped out of it really, and it's such a common thing. And if you are a young trainer listening to this, like that's one of the hardest things to like really do, because your business is your baby, and to step out of the day to day to it, and not really fully step out, but take time away from it and allow the people that you surround yourself to have more of a hand in it, to delegate, to coach up, to lead. That was the harder part for me, and that was the realistic driver in 23 for me. And it wasn't anything profound with the model. We had a small group personal training model that could have been profitable and efficient in 2019.
So it was just you focusing on the business more, basically.
Yeah, big time.
Because when you're in the business all those years, you're just every day is the same. You're just going through it, and you're trying to get people through the doors and make them leave happy, obviously, and continue good business. But you're not tracking anything in your business.
But that's the hardest thing. Like in a way for me, like that was the hardest thing, because what had to change the most is how I gauged productivity and how I gauged success. Whereas like when you're first starting out, when you're just training and everything is super simple, you gauge your success by the smiles on your clients' faces, the high fives, the victories that they experience.
Of course.
And that's fine, but it's not going to be, necessarily like the thing that is going to bring you the most business when you're the one doing all that all the time.
It can't be. It's impossible. And I don't know about you, but for me at that point, when I think it was like 2019 when I kind of made that move, 2020 maybe, 2019 I guess, where I kind of stepped away from the business a little bit more and worked on the business more. The hard part for me was like, I always like prided myself in getting up early, being at the gym, and then leaving late, like all those years, right? But it's like now I'm sitting down at a computer and, working on the business, but like it doesn't feel like I'm working as hard sometimes. In the beginning, now I know it is. Mm-hmm. But like that part was hard for me to not be there and be the leader of like working on it. Because if I was there in the business, working on the business, but actually in there, for me, it was always distractions. I couldn't focus on what I needed to do. So I always had to get out of the businesses. People know I go to coffee shops and do all my work there. So was that ever a feeling for you? Like, you're not working as hard as you used to or something like that? I don't know if you,
Absolutely. Of course. I think that's super normal, dude. It's such a, like how you gauge your day is completely different. Like, but I heard something this weekend. I think it was Dan Goodman. He was, don't confuse like,
don't confuse busyness with work.
Busyness with like actual like productivity, essentially.
Yeah.
I think I'm butchering it, but essentially that was the
message.
Was it. Or, like just because you're active doesn't mean you're doing something to push the needle. But that's the thing. Like yesterday, perfect example. I was bothering you about Ignite and whatnot. I was just sat down. I was zoned in. I was doing all of my back end stuff. I was getting all the marketing initiatives done for October. And nothing crazy was done, and nothing. This is something I struggle with now. Nothing wild was sold in my business yesterday. Yeah. But I know that it was an incredibly productive business day.
Future.
Yes.
Investing,
yes.
Right?
Like that's the stuff that needs to happen for the business to grow.
Yeah, and then on those lines is like investing in the training, investing in the KRAs, and like where people know where they need to be and what they do. Always hard for me to kind of at first sit down and do that stuff because you don't see those benefits right away. You sell somebody a membership, you see the benefits right away.
Oh yeah,
you see that right away.
I'm a salesman to it too.
Right?
I love the sales game, and that's really like that was a hard thing, too. Like I'm handing over a lot of my sales over to our head trainer now, Melissa, and she's
okay.
Yeah, no, she's just okay. Just, nothing special. Melissa's incredible. But handing that over to her now, and now she's like, pulling off some of the new memberships and whatnot, which is always something I really enjoyed, and I now kind of like I'm experiencing that a little bit again, where I step into more marketing,
because that means you did a good job of leading her. And now she's a go-getter. So whatever you put in front of her, she's going to go get it. We already know that. When you have both of you on the calls for Ignite, she's always one that knows what's going on.
Yes.
all the computer stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she's like your wingman in the business. But she's a go-getter. But the reason why she is, and you might not realize this, but it's because of your hard work and leadership that you put in the business beforehand. And that's it. And she bought into it.
I should remind her that.
Right? Yeah, you should remind her that. Exactly. Clip this up and send it to her. But yeah, Derek, and this is the part where entrepreneurs can either thrive or fail. It's that part where you can't do everything. You know that, right? I know that. So how can you now go from coaching your clients to coaching your coaches to be the best coaches and thrive in every moment? That's where it really comes down to. So how has that transition been for you?
It's been good. I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy it. It's coaching in general. I love to coach. I have a passion for coaching. And it was definitely a little bit of a transition, but even early on, I started like developing coaches in my early 20s, and
it's true, because you're at the gym, right?
Yeah, I really think I started to get a little bit better at it recently in the last like 2 years, and I think that finding the right people and attracting the right people into the facility has been super important, and we're very close staff. When we hire somebody into the Rebel family, it's really it's something that we take very seriously, and they know that. I explain to them, the gravity of our job, and the importance of what we do. And as long as they understand that and know that, then it's easy to sew into them and really want to produce good coaches and good people. Yeah,
and as long as they, give a shit about it, right? You can teach them the rest, and that's it.
Have to.
It's the main thing, correct?
Yeah, it's really, if I say this all the time, almost, it sounded like a broken record, but if you don't give a shit about people, you need to get out of the industry.
That's it. That's it. I know you've come across those trainers before,
oh my God,
and I have too.
You have no business
and it's
being
like,
here.
One guy came in and sat down, and he has all the credentials you could ask for. I don't really care about, but he was like the biggest dick. I'm like, this isn't going to work out. Let's just move on, and that's it. And that's something you gotta be able to do from the beginning.
And I got a whole story that I tell them the first day when I in my internship interview process. Like I'll tell them a story about, basically I had a very quick story here, but I was training a client. He left for one reason or another. Not on bad terms, but people stop training.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I didn't pursue him as hard as I currently think I should have, and unfortunately, he passed too early.
I remember you telling me this.
And I share that story with every single person that comes into the facility. I'm like, you understand that, like, when we bring people in here, when people join Rebel, like, we are saving their lives. Like, we are saving, and we'll never know what we're saving them from, but we know that we're keeping them healthier. We're giving them more quality time with their families. We're giving them higher quality of life. Like, all of that is super important.
So take that serious.
Oh yeah, very.
That's the truth. Honestly, that's so true. And that's what we always tell. That's what we always tell our coaches is like, you're never selling. You're helping.
Oh yeah.
Like, how can you help this person? Like, okay, if they think $300 or $400 a month is too much, whatever it is. But is it worth your life?
Oh, yeah.
It should be, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we always come back to. All right, Derek. So there's definitely a lot of coaches that were in your position at a box gym right now, or just whatever, just starting out their own business. Maybe they're training people at their house. What advice do you have to those people? If you can go back to yourself and tell yourself something.
Yeah, ask yourself what you want out of it. Ask yourself what try to really identify what you're looking for in this life. It's so hard because when if you are a young coach right now and you're listening to this, it's challenging because you might be in your early 20s and it's such a hard thing to answer, like, what do I want out of life? But coming from I'm just a step out of that, with being 32. I got a full family, and I wanted, at the time, I determined that I wanted freedom. I wanted to live life on my own terms, and in large part, like, I always wore the hours as a badge of honor. And I know that many young coaches do, because you're working harder than your friends, you're up earlier, you're working later, and it's impossible to really not feel good about that to some degree.
Of course.
But the issue is, that's not sustainable long term. And it might be right now, but when you have all this energy and all this fire and all this passion right now, why don't you go try to, if this is in your spirit, push it towards something that's going to fuel your future, not just your now. And if you could take all of that energy and all of that passion and put it into something that can be greater, why wouldn't you do it?
That's huge. That's really powerful. I think that could really touch a lot of trainers and help them propel. So Derek, any gym owners like that want to, or young entrepreneurs that want to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to you and contact you?
Email Derek@rebelstrengthnj.com.
Awesome. Subject?
Yeah. Subject,
I'm just messing around.
Just put anything, man.
Anything? Lawn, how about lawnmower?
SOS.
Can you mow my lawn? Can you mow my lawn? Question mark.
Forget that.
So if you get any of those, it's from the podcast.
Yeah, put the subject as lawnmower. I'll respond.
All right, perfect. Derek, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
Absolutely happy to be here, Mike. Thank you.
Appreciate it.